Hello guys, what's up? This is Karan and welcome to my YouTube channel, The First Page. Today we will share about the topic on the Indian Ocean Territory and the use of ocean resources for economic growth and ocean ecosystem health. Here is also a special connective point is that the India's challenges in the Indian Ocean and border disputes with China in Indian Ocean Territory. The Indian Ocean's regions transport 75% of the world maritime trade and has 50% of daily global oil consumption. Let's watch the details at first.
In this video, we'll try and understand what are India's own challenges in the Indian Ocean region and its border disputes with China. With the help of a map, I will show you the trade routes of China because China is the world's largest manufacturing economy and exporter of goods. So naturally, China is proud of its economy, and it is also its economic power through which China takes control of foreign lands and territories. First, I will show you the maritime trade routes. It starts from the South China Sea, then Malacca Strait, then Indian Ocean, the Arabian Sea. From here it goes into the Gulf countries and European countries. One more route is through the Pacific Ocean Way, which is not India's concern, but for the information's sake I'm telling you. Now let me show you the land trade route, which is also known as China's Belt and Road Initiative. It is also called the New Silk Road. The road passes through the Xinjiang province in China and then enters into the Central Asian countries. Then through Iran and Kazakhstan, it can access Middle Eastern and European markets. That means Xinjiang is China's bridge to Central Asian, Middle Eastern and European markets. Now there is another route called the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor that passes through the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and goes through Pakistan till the Gwadar seaport. Then there is another route called the China-Myanmar Economic Corridor that passes through Myanmar and reach Myanmar seaport in Kyakpyu and Sitwe. From here, the sea route connects with China's maritime route in Indian Ocean. So these are the land and sea trade routes of China. Now look at Sri Lanka's Hambantota Colombo seaports. Hambantota seaport is practically a Chinese seaport. The Sri Lankan government has given this port to the Chinese on lease for 99 years because the Sri Lankan government is unable to pay the Chinese loan. Now there are reports which says that the Chinese would like to extend the lease to further 99 years. So this is called debt trap diplomacy. Let me also tell you what all facilities this seaport has. It has oil and gas bunkering facility, then a natural gas power plant. It also has an airport. Then it also has an industrial special economic zone, and finally it also has a wastewater infrastructure plant. These facilities are high-value economic segments. Now let's look at the Gwadar seaport of Pakistan. The whole Gwadar city has been developed by the Chinese. It has an airport, coal power plant, industrial economic zone, it has a steel plant, petrochemical plant and a freshwater treatment plant. Similarly, if you see the Karachi seaport, there is a nuclear power complex, Qasim coal power plant, Karachi railway utility, then industrial economic zone, then Pakistan remote sensing satellite and ground control. Even the Keti Bandar seaport has been developed by the Chinese. So all these things have been developed by the Chinese. Not to forget, railway lines and roadways of the CPEC project has been built by the Chinese. Now both Gwadar and Hambantota seaports are deep water seaports. One should not be surprised if tomorrow China parks its aircraft carriers and submarines at these ports. In future, these seaports will definitely become Chinese naval bases. There is no doubt in that. And then we have also heard in the news, a few months back, China and Iran signed a $400 billion deal. I believe Iran has some 5 or 6 seaports in the Persian Gulf side, and the rest of them are in the Caspian Sea side. Chabahar seaport is the only port that has direct access to the Indian Ocean. Although India has invested in the development of Chabahar seaport for getting access to Afghanistan, and not just Afghanistan but also for moving freight between India, Russia, Iran, Europe and Central Asia. The whole purpose of developing Chabahar seaport was to counter Chinese presence in the Arabian Sea through the support to Pakistan in developing Gwadar seaport. So these are some challenges for India regarding the Chinese presence in the Indian Ocean. And if you remember, in the beginning I showed you 2 sea routes of China, one towards the Indian Ocean and the other towards the Pacific Ocean. Towards the Indian Ocean, only India can counter China, because in the whole of Asia, the only nation that can stand up to China is India, both militarily as well as economically. To secure and safeguard India's interest in the broader maritime neighborhood, India is merging Indian Ocean with Pacific Ocean in strategic terms. That is how bigger alliances can be formed like Quad and the newly formed AUKUS. If you see, Quad consists of India, Japan, Australia and USA. Similarly, AUKUS consists of Australia, UK and USA. If you see Japan, Australia and USA, they have no business in the Indian Ocean. Australia has some stake. After all, the western part of Australia is Indian Ocean. However, if you look at China's sea route or South China Sea disputes, they are nowhere close to Australian maritime border. By this logic, India is alone in the Indian Ocean. That is where we have to ask this question: how much can the Quad and AUKUS help India in its broader maritime security challenges? While it is necessary to make Americans and Europe involve, at the same time India also have to revisit this question: how much can the Quad and AUKUS help India in its broader maritime security challenges in the Indian Ocean region? Indian naval bases in the Indian Ocean are quite active and they are very much capable of countering the Chinese vessels. We have been doing it since a long time. But we also have to agree with the fact that Chinese space program is several decades ahead of India's efforts. China has a network of satellites in space which are constantly scanning the Indian Ocean region with digital technology, and they are keeping a track of Indian warships and aircraft carriers. Similarly, India is also aware of China's aching vein, which is free passage of cargo ships that are essential for the survival of Chinese industry. So keeping all of this in mind, it is very much in India's interest if US, UK and France is involved. There is an old saying, it is also there in Chanakya Niti: the activities of the enemy should always be monitored. And if your enemy is also powerful, then a powerful enemy can only be defeated together. This is where South China disputes, Taiwan issue, Hong Kong issue, Tibet freedom issue, territorial disputes of China. They have 17 territorial disputes with its neighbors on land as well as sea. All these issues have to come up on surface. Now even China is aware of what India wants and what India is doing. That is why you will see every now and then, India-China border dispute comes into the limelight. Sometimes in Ladakh or in Uttarakhand or in Sikkim or in Arunachal Pradesh. Siachen Glacier is the highest battleground on earth. Indian Army has been operating and has a base on Siachen since 1984. There is no Pakistani soldier, there is no Chinese soldier on Siachen Glacier. There is only the Indian Army. So anyhow, the point is, China wants to have one-on-one tussle with India at the Himalayan region, where no other country will come. Even India is giving back properly. That is why when the Galwan happened, who moved back? Of course, many of our soldiers died, but even India pushed back and did the same. Just to give you more evidence about what I'm saying, have you noticed when Galwan standoff happened? The Chinese had put up tents instead of bunkers. In a real war scenario, one artillery shelling will fry up the tents as well as inside men. Every army in the world knows that. That clearly means the Chinese intentions were not to have a full-fledged war. They came to do some muscle flexing. Both India and China knows the repercussion of having a war. It will drain our economies. These border disputes that we are hearing every now and then, these are just man-to-man brawls to settle issues. And the Himalayan region is the perfect place where no one can get backup. So that is the whole thing. Now the next problem is Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. India has long been uncomfortable with China's investment in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. If you see the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, it passes through Gilgit-Baltistan, that is POK region, and then towards Islamabad and Peshawar. See, POK is a disputed region. Just think about it. China has invested around $50 billion in the CPEC project, which is part of China's One Belt, One Road initiative. CPEC passes through POK, which is a disputed territory. And please don't think for a second that China doesn't know it. China is very well aware of it. That means Kashmir is a territorial dispute between India and Pakistan. And China has no problem interfering in it. I mean, just think about it. If there is a dispute between two people, why would a third person invest money in it? There has to be a greater reason. That means China has deep hidden interests. As per the Indian intelligence reports, most of the Pakistani funded terror launchpads are in POK region. And China has built roads and cross-border optical fiber cables in the POK region. That means these terror camps will not harm Chinese investments. Pakistan Army has a unit dedicated to protect Chinese nationals and CPEC infrastructure. And everyone knows that Pakistan is China's proxy against India, just like North Korea is a proxy of China against Japan. So this is a greater concern for India. Had China not built its infrastructure through POK, India would have not cared much about it. It is only because of Kashmir that Chinese funding to Pakistan has made India more hostile towards China. To secure and safeguard India's interest in the broader maritime neighborhood of Indian Ocean, it is necessary for India to make America and Europe involved in the Indo-Pacific region through Quad and AUKUS. At the same time, near the Himalayan region, Indian Army will take care of Pakistan and China, but India also needs the help of America and Europe for putting diplomatic pressure on Pakistan. See, you have to understand this. In foreign policy and international diplomacy, our regular logics will not work. All these 5 veto countries are ultimately bad boys. They did not reach where they are by being good boys. They are bully, it is a fact. Since 1947, India has maintained the policy of non-alignment. Sometimes here and there, sides has been taken, but officially on the face value, India has maintained the policy of non-alignment. There are reasons behind it. That was the era of Cold War. We had our own issues. We still have them. We didn't have strong economy. Our political will was not strong, and many more such issues. But today, international politics has changed a lot. And India has also grown economically. Therefore, it cannot remain non-aligned anymore. While India will try and maintain relationship with everyone, but on strategic relations, India has to take a side. This is where things get a little complicated. While India also knows about United States' role in aiding Pakistan throughout the 80s and how that led to insurgency in Punjab and Kashmir during 80s and 90s, India knows all of this. But it cannot openly call out America and make an enemy of it. Similarly, China is the biggest threat to India. But then both countries maintain almost 100 billion worth of trade annually. Diplomacy is full of contradictions. So what I'm saying is, while India is aware of United States' direct or indirect role in terrorism, but right now India also needs America's and other European countries' support for putting international pressure on countries like Pakistan, China and now Taliban.
Here we have watched in detail how China is trying to create chaos with India, and we Indians have the strength to deal with China unitedly. Let us know how you like the video by commenting and subscribe the channel to get more upcoming videos at earliest. I will come back soon with new videos. Till then, goodbye.